drive a car? And if so, what was it?
I don't think he ever did. I don't know if he does now, but I don't think he had a driving licence even. No, he always used to get about... Either one of the other musicians who were going on to the next session again would bring him. He used to come with me sometimes in my car. Or he would jump in a cab and take a cab over from Pi to EMI, or... Because he always seemed to turn up on the train in the mornings when he had to come in from Epsom. He would come by train and take a taxi to the studio. So I don't think he ever had that hassle. Mind you, he only had a guitar and
Just a guitar,
I mean, that was it.
Did you ever think that Jimmy Page would become so successful?
I didn't think he would be as vastly successful as... I mean, you know, when you end up owning your own Boeing 747, you are successful. I never got my Boeing 747. Jimmy did. Good luck to him. He deserves it. He deserves it. He's a sweet person, really nice guy. And I'd much rather see it going to somebody like Jimmy than I would to one or two other people who should be nameless.
Yeah. Why did you stop being a session musician?
I stopped being a session musician mainly because I've never been somebody that wants to be a passenger on a bus. I've always wanted to drive the bus. And I always felt a passenger because up in that control box, up the top in the studios, there was this faceless voice called the producer who would call down and give instructions and could we do this and Bobby, can you do so and so. And I thought one day, I want to do that. I don't want to be stuck down here. I want to be up there and start producing. So at the end of the recordings, when we'd finished recording, all the guys would go off home, and I didn't. I went up into the control box and watched them messing about mixing it, and I asked questions to the engineer, what's that do, what's that knob for, and what's an equaliser, what's equalisation, and they told me, and gradually I learned. And I then blagged my way into a job with Disque Barclay in France, in Paris, a big record company. Convinced them I was just about to take a highly paid job with Philips as a producer, and they said, oh no, you come with us and join us. So I had 2 years with them as a producer, recording British groups for the French market. And then EMI Holland headhunted me, and I went out there and stayed out there for 2 or 3 years. And that's really why I got off the session scene. I got fed up with humping drums in and out of studio, and I wanted to drive the bus. It's more fun.
How did you find producing British music for the continental market? Was it difficult to adapt it?
It was for France, because of the fact that, you know, it's not an English-speaking country, really. And even the Beatles found it hard to sell records out there. They did, but it wasn't as easy as in Holland, for example, where I went to EMI in Holland. It was great because everything was in English. You know, it was marvellous. So I had a job as executive international producer with the company, which was my job to record Dutch artists for all around the world, in every other countries. And sometimes I used to go to EMI Italy or whatever to record a local Italian group in English so that they could lease it to other EMI companies throughout the world. And it gave me a chance to trot around the world and live very nicely, thank you. That's why I chose it.
Work with anybody interesting like Focus or...?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Focus were my rhythm section. They were my guys in Holland that became the musical stuntmen of Holland. Because when I went to Holland, it was the old established musicians still plodding away. And I took Jan Akkerman, the guitar player from Focus, and Pierre van der Linden, very nice drummer with Focus, and Bert Reuter, the bass player. I never used Thijs van Leer on sessions. I don't know why. He
was the keyboard player, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I used them on so many records and got very lucky. I had a hit with the first record I produced with a group called Robert Long and Unit Gloria. Went to #1 all over the continent and produced loads more hits with them. Had a great time out in Holland.
It's now 2008. What are your plans for the future?
Well, the only thing I can really say, I suppose, is that I'm planning to die at some time in the future.
No rush, though.
But before I do, I'm still playing.
Yep, I enjoy watching you play.
Oh, bless you. don't get around too much now because my health is not wonderful, but I still enjoy some gigs that I play on, and I just pick and choose what I want to do. I don't do it very much nowadays at all. And I sit here and reminisce back to the days that were and the great times with my mate Jimmy Page and all the other guys. And realise how privileged and how lucky I've been in my life to be able to do those sort of things with those great musicians.
It was a great time for music, really, and it's fascinating the part you had to play in that.
Yeah, well, as I say, if I'd have realised then what I know now, that they'd still be playing the music that we recorded all those years ago, 50 years ago almost, we'd have looked after ourselves financially a bit better than we did.
Look for royalties instead of a session.
Well, we never had any management session. We didn't have management to look after.
Really, none
us.
at all.
No, nobody had a manager. You know, you were at the mercy of all the vultures, sort of thing.
Wow.
And nobody to protect you or look after you, really. But that's the way it was. I wouldn't change it. I'd do it all again if I had to.
Yeah. So I guess that's why Brian Epstein and Peter Grant were so important, because they looked after their bands and developed them.
Very much so. Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for talking to me today, Bobby, and I wish you every success for the future.
Dan, thank you so much. Bless you. This is Bobby Graham. I recently found this old 8mm home movie, and it shows me around 1963-64 going to a recording session at one of the most famous recording studios, Olympic Sound in Carton Street in London. I'm told it was originally a synagogue before its use as a studio. I worked here on many occasions with artists like Dusty Springfield, Lulu, and many other singers from that period in my career. I can't recall now who this session was for, but here I am arriving to set up my drum kit and try and get myself organised before the other musicians start to arrive. Please note the Beatle haircut.